and prostitution. So it's entirely possible that these spots in particular were utilized by him during the 1920s. If not by Al himself, then perhaps his men or associates, who would talk, name drop, and spread rumors while not always being sober themselves.
You know, there's a lot of theories about hotels in the area being on water and rumors that Capone and his gang would be dumping bodies or doing, other crazy things like that. And I don't necessarily think it had anything to do with Capone, because I think this area was, obviously we have such an asset having Lake Michigan right here next to us. And I think the idea of bringing in tourism, which was a big thing back in the 20s and 30s, was having a hotel with a view of the lake would bring people in. So it was even before Capone that this was going on. But of course it gave lots of rumors and the idea that, they could use the lake as dumping grounds. Of course, that could possibly be true, but, people that I've talked to that have gone diving into the lake, they find a lot of booze bottles, but they don't find a lot of bodies. So as far as from that era. But, it's always one of those things that it's a good rumor and it's a good story. Almost everybody wanted lakefront property, and the first thing they want to do is build a hotel or build a restaurant on it.
They bring them in. So how was southwestern Michigan useful to Al Capone?
Well, southwestern Michigan actually was so close to Chicago that it was an obvious choice for him to come to. What was really nice about this area back in the 20s is it was very rural and very much a fruit and vegetable industry, a lot of farming going on. And of course, what we make our alcohol out of is farm goods. So when Al Capone came in, he took advantage of the fact that we had such a large fruit industry here, and he maximized it. Now, back in that day, farmers were taking their goods to the market, say, selling a bushel of a particular product for, getting $5 at the market. Capone's people would come in and they would offer them $100 a bushel. The media had actually coined the term Capone's playground because he was here so much, and they knew it. It was something that was well known to people in Chicago. But he felt at home because this was his turf. This is where people of his own kind were. This was a heavily populated with the Italian community, and there's even a section of the area which is called Little Italy, and it contained a lot of Italian restaurants, authentic food. A lot of people had the rumors that went out that he used to hide out here in Benton Harbor and in St. Joseph, but it really wasn't true because he was out in the open. Now, this was before the FBI started. It was called the Bureau of Investigations at the time. They really had no federal laws other than driving a stolen car across state lines. So there really wasn't anything to enforce, even if Capone was wanted for something. So once he crossed the state lines, he was free. He could do whatever he wanted here, and he did. Now, it's not to say that he didn't do some things, a little shady. He did obviously play poker. He did also maybe have a few drinks, and that was okay. He actually let the police know that he was here, which is kind of an interesting way to go about it. But it was basically to say, hey, I'm here. If you don't mess with me, I won't mess with you. And they were perfectly fine with that. Because obviously a small town police department is certainly not going to be able to take on the entourage and the posse of the Capone clan. So it was something that was quite humorous to think, but I also found out that, a lot of the cops and the police at the time they liked to have a drink once in a while, and it wouldn't be surprised that Capone would slip a box of wine or a couple cases of beer into their squad car at sometimes to kind of make things good.
Gangsters would rationalize with that.
Historically.
Places such as the Class, the Hotel Julian, and of course the Capone family home provide insight as to who Capone was and how he managed to build his criminal empire. What are their secrets? What in these environments may have inspired and enabled him?
We do know that he was in Benton Harbor, and we know that he was in St. Joseph. We know he spent a lot of time in areas in Indiana too, as well as Michigan. But we were so convenient and so close, and so a lot of people would associate the other gangsters as being, well, this was Capone's house or this was Capone's place, when it actually was somebody else's house, but may have been a shady character or something that related to a gangster. But in a lot of the cases, I had to disprove a lot of that stuff, and I think a lot of people still hang on to that because it's a cherished memory from their grandparents or great-grandparents, and unfortunately, I like facts, and I have to tell them the truth.
Now, there's towns